Hello, everyone. It's Erin, and today I'm excited to be fulfilling a prophecy. Wait, I meant to say a request. Oh my gosh, I really am starting a cult. This is a request from a viewer to recreate some of Charley Harper's famous bird paintings. And who was Charley Harper? Who the heck's that? We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I had to point out that these birds are very graphic, very precise. So I got out my circle maker, which is actually not the technical term. It's called a circle template, to get some nice rounded shapes and straight lines. And I'm starting with yellow. These birds are only made up of three colors: yellow, red, and black. And I know black's not technically a color, it's the absence of color, but only 3 tubes of paint are needed, starting with yellow. And then I've got red, which I'm mixing some yellow into, so that I have a nice orange red. And I'm starting with the lightest color because it's way easier to cover up any mistakes I may have made. Oh, there I am showing off my nails because I did my nails especially for this video. But yeah, ending with black is smart because I can fix up any of the lines that might have been a little off with the yellow, although the yellow looks pretty good to me. But if I had messed up with the black and then tried to cover it with yellow, that would be impossible. So starting with the lighter colors, working up to the darkest is a more efficient way to work. And here I am drawing in the cutout details in the wings, and I've drawn them too small. So although, I'm pretty good at getting around them, I do mess them up, and eventually I have to just paint right over most of those cutout details. So I would recommend using a smaller brush than the one I'm using. I'm using a number 6. And it's also, of course, this brush that I'm like squeezing the last little bits of life out of. And I did go out and buy a new brush, yay, but I haven't tried it yet. So we're going to see how that goes for the next video. But anyway, let's talk about Charley Harper. He's a really interesting guy. I knew about him, but I didn't really know much about him as a person. I knew about his birds because they're quite famous. And he did these birds for a textbook in the 1950s. Oh, there I am screwing up. So I tried to fix it. You can see I'm like, I'll just make this little cutout a smaller version of it. But then I realized that doesn't look good. The proportions don't really work. And I screw it up anyway. And then I have to take a deep breath and a mudra. And then I'm fine. Okay, so Charley Harper did these birds for a 1950s textbook. He was born in the 1920s, and then he went to the Art Academy of Cincinnati in the 1940s. And the reason he chose that school is because he saw a picture of a cute girl in the pamphlet. So he's like, there's cute girls there. So we went to that school, and the first day of classes, he met his future wife, Edie McKee, who's also an artist. She went to art school too. So, but what's really cute is he ended up winning the first ever traveling scholarship from that school, and they went on their honeymoon using the scholarship. So they traveled all through the western states, drawing and painting animals and nature, which sounds like the most ideal honeymoon. And then afterwards, he was enrolled in the army, and he actually said that his time there was really fruitful training for him as an artist because it taught him how to grasp the important elements of a scene quickly and put them down with a minimal amount of detail. So he did a lot of art making while he was on duty. And during that time, his wife, Edie, she was also working in the field, creating illustrations and assignments for the Army, doing a lot of photography work. And she actually called it her assignment Dollsville, which is cool. It was really dull, so total Dollsville. I'm going to be using that one. And when the war was over and they were back together, they started their own studio called Harper Studio. And he went on to create illustrations for the National Park Service, the Cincinnati Zoo. He did a bunch of illustrated books, most notably the Golden Book of Biology. And his style is known as minimal realism. And you can really see that. It's evident with these birds. Like, look at this guy. This is probably his most famous bird. It's the red cardinal. And it's made up of pretty much just 2 shapes, circles and triangles. And there you can see my gouache is nice and creamy. I've added just enough water so that I only have to do 2 coats. And I'm holding my brush very close to the bristles to get a lot of control because, again, these are such precise paintings. But yeah, such little information to get this, very recognizable bird that has a lot of character. There's a beautiful quote here that I wanted to share. And when I read it, I was like, this man is speaking to my soul as an artist. But he said, when he looks at wildlife or nature subjects, he doesn't see individual feathers in the wings. He just counts the wings. He sees exciting shapes, color combinations, patterns, textures, fascinating behavior, and endless possibilities for making interesting pictures. He said that he regards the picture as an ecosystem in which all the elements are interrelated, perfectly balanced. And herein lies the lure of painting. He said that in a world of chaos, the picture is one small rectangle in which the artist can create an ordered universe. And when I read that, I got shivers. I teared up because I was like, that's what it's like for me. Because I go for a lot of, walks through the neighborhood. And sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the beauty, like the trees and the clouds and the mountains. But if I sit down and I start drawing a tree, there's something really calming about it, and I can sort of absorb or process the beauty that I'm seeing. And anyone can do this. You don't have to be a skilled artist to go out and try to draw a tree. You just really observe it and take it in. Anyway, beautiful quote. Interesting guy. I looked up pictures of him and his wife, and they were just so cute, Charley and Edie. And the birds are beautiful. I loved painting these. It was a really great exercise in precision and in patience, and I will definitely be painting more of these. So just as I'm getting close to the end of this painting here, I thought I would talk a little bit about something that a few viewers have asked me about, but students ask quite often. What's the difference between acrylic gouache, which is what I use, and traditional gouache? And really the difference is the binder. And it comes down to acrylic gouache is waterproof, whereas traditional gouache isn't. So traditional gouache can be reactivated once it's dry on the page or on your palette. You can use water to reactivate it, and you can continue to blend with it. Which is very useful for some situations. But for me, I really like the acrylic gouache because once it dries, it cannot be reactivated. So layering tends to be cleaner. If I have a whole background in one color and then I paint elements over top of it, those elements will not reactivate the paint underneath and then become muddy. So I find that the acrylic gouache stays very bright. It tends to be a little more opaque, so you don't need as many layers. But both do dry with a really lovely matte satiny finish that is opaque. So unlike acrylic, which not acrylic gouache, but acrylic paint has sort of a plasticky, well, it is plastic, but it has a shiny finish. Gouache doesn't, whether it's the acrylic gouache or traditional gouache. So there you go. That's the story of acrylic versus non-acrylic gouache. Here we have sort of a tip that I'm going to share with you when I'm doing this beak. So I made that beak slightly bigger than it was in the original painting. And that's because I knew I might kind of screw it up. So to make something bigger, and then I can slowly cut away with the black paint. So this is a really nice example of using your black paint last to, help perfect other shapes and lines and mistakes that you may have made with the lighter color paint. So I noticed that my beak didn't have a pointy top to it, that there wasn't enough room in my drawing there. So I am creating room now with the black paint, just making that beak slightly smaller. And this does take a lot of patience, but luckily I've been meditating every day now. Well, not almost every day for the last several months. And I think it's really helping my painting. Like, I tend to be a little bit less shaky. Also, my eyes have almost completely healed from the LASIK. So I've now got my glasses that I can use for close-up, and everything is okay. So it was a real pleasure to paint these birds. Yeah. So this was a request, as I mentioned, and I'm so excited to fulfill more of these requests, not prophecies. So if you do have a request, please let me know in the comments below. And and don't forget, I am teaching a class this summer, over Zoom. So it doesn't matter where you live. There are 2 time slots to choose from. I'll put the link in the description below so you can go find out more information. But we'll be painting replicants together 2 hours a week, every week for 6 weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun. So check that out. Look at those little kneecaps. It's so cute. Okay, this part was difficult, the details in the wings, because I didn't use a smaller brush and I really should have. But in order to get a little bit more control, I actually put my left hand under my right wrist so that you can see there I did it for a moment. I was sort of keeping my wrist still. And then I'm using very, very, very little pressure. And I'm almost holding the bristles themselves just to get as much control as I can. And it works out okay. I think it would have been better if I had been able to use a smaller brush, or even maybe a black pen might have been a good idea. I'm just turning my page there so I can get the right angle. But I think all in all, this turned out pretty good. As I said, I will be doing more of Charley Harper's illustrations. I'd love to do a whole scene some point soon. And yeah, I'm really excited that I've discovered this new artist. And I gave the bird a little bit more of a smile than the original painting. Why not? And there we have it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to fly away now. Have a lovely day.